Welcome to the Professor English podcast, where we don't just talk about English, we practice English. My name is Ryan, and I am your host. Today, we are going to practice making first and second conditionals while using some pre-intermediate A2 level business vocabulary. Here is a very short explanation of first and second conditionals. First conditionals are used for situations you think probably will happen, and second conditionals are used for situations that you think probably will not happen. Don't worry if you're not sure how to use them. We're going to practice using them, and by the end of this lesson, both the difference and how to make them will be very clear. So, let's start. Here is a sentence. John reaches his targets. John reaches his targets. He reaches his targets. Let's make an if clause with this sentence. If he reaches his targets. If he reaches his targets. If he reaches his targets by the end of the month. Well, now we have the first part of a conditional. And because we're using simple present in this first part of the clause, we sound positive and optimistic. We think this will probably happen. We believe that John can do it. We have faith in his abilities. If he reaches his targets, we really think he can do it. It's a pretty good odds that he can do it. We sound positive and optimistic. Now let's talk about the result. Let's talk about what will happen if he reaches his targets. He get a bonus. When talking about the result, we'll use will to continue our positive attitude about this situation. Will is making a promise. He will get a bonus. We promise he will get a bonus. If he reaches his target by the end of the month, he will get a bonus. This is a very positive sounding thing. We think it's going to happen. We really think so. It's not 100%. We don't know for sure, but we have a pretty good idea. He will get a bonus. He'll get a bonus. If he reaches his target by the end of the month, he'll get a bonus. If he reaches his target by the end of the month, he will get a bonus. If he reaches his target by the end of the month, he'll get a bonus. Now let's make an if-why question. If-why. If he reaches his targets, why will he get a bonus? If he reaches his targets, why will he get a bonus? If he reaches his targets by the end of the month, why will he get a bonus? Why will he get a bonus? Here is the reason. Because that is the company's policy. He will get a bonus because that is the company's policy. He'll get a bonus because that's the company's policy. He'll get a bonus because that's the company's policy. If he reaches his targets, he'll get a bonus because that's the company's policy. Okay, now let's take the same idea. John reaches his targets. And let's make an if clause using the simple past and see how it changes the idea. Instead of saying if John reaches, let's say if John reached simple past. If John reached. If he reached. If he reached his targets. If he reached his. If he reached his. Reach tis. If he reached his targets. Now, using the simple past with if in this way makes it sound like we don't really think he can do it. It's possible, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. It's probably not going to happen. If he reached his targets, if he reached his targets, if he reached his targets, because we don't think it will happen, when we talk about the result, we will use would instead of will. You know, would is used when you have to imagine something. Like, it's not a real situation. It's in your imagination. It's in your head. He would get a bonus. So now it's not in the world. It's not will. It's in our head. It's in our imagination. He would get a bonus. Because we don't think that he's going to do it, we have to use our imagination to imagine the result. He would get a. He'd get a. He would get a. He would get a. He'd get a. He'd get a bonus. If he reached his targets, he'd get a bonus. Targets he. Targets he. If he reached his targets, he'd get a. If he reached his targets, he'd get a bonus. If he reached his targets, he'd get a bonus. That's very different from how it reads. If he reached his targets, he would get a bonus. If he reached his targets, he'd get a bonus. If he reached his targets by the end of the month, he'd get a bonus. Now it sounds like we really don't think he can do it. We don't think that he can reach his targets. It's possible, but probably it won't happen. Now let's make another if-why question. If he reached his targets, if he reached his targets, why would he? If he reached his targets, why would he get a bonus? Why would he get a bonus? Why would he get a bonus? If he reached his targets, why would he get a bonus? Here's the reason. Because it's the company's policy. It is the company's policy. Sorry, I'm not being very original today. Because it is the company's policy. He would get a bonus because it is the company's policy. He'd get a bonus. He would get a bonus. He'd get a bonus because it's the company's policy. It is the company's policy. It's the company's policy. If he reached his goals, he'd get a bonus because it's the company's policy. All right, you're doing a fantastic job. Let's try another example. Here is another collocation with reach. Reach a compromise. Reach a compromise. They reach a compromise. They reach a compromise. They reach a compromise. Let's make an if clause with this sentence. If they reach a, if they reach a compromise. Because this if clause is in the simple present, it sounds very positive and optimistic. We think this will probably happen. Now let's use will to talk about the result. They will make a deal. They will make a deal. Make a deal. They'll make a deal. They will make a deal. They'll make a deal. If they reach a compromise, they'll make a deal. If they reach a compromise, they will make a deal. If they reach a compromise, they'll make a deal. Now we use the simple present reach in the first part because we think it will happen, and we use will to talk about the result. Remember, will is for making promises. I promise. I promise. the result. It's very solid sounding. They will make a deal. If they reach a compromise, they'll make a deal. Now, let's make an if-when question. If-when. If they reach a compromise, when will they make a deal? When will they make a deal? If they reach a compromise, when will they make a deal? When will they make a deal? If they reach a compromise, when will they make a deal? If they make a compromise, when will they make a deal? Here is the answer. Next week. Next week. If they reach a compromise, they will make a deal next week. They'll make a deal. They'll make a deal next week. If they reach a compromise, they'll make a deal next week. Now, let's take a look at the same situation, but with a different attitude. They reach a compromise. Let's make an if clause, but let's change the verb to simple past. Reached. They reached a compromise. If they reached a compromise. If they reached a lot of times people have a problem pronouncing reached because there are a lot of complicated sounds, but here we're lucky because the next word is a, and instead of saying reached you can say reached-a, and that's much easier, and that's how people say it. If they reached-a, if they reached a compromise, by changing the verb into simple past, we are now indicating that we really don't think it is going to happen. It's possible, but it probably will not happen. If they reached a compromise, we don't think that this is going to happen. But now let's imagine the result. They would make a deal. They would make a deal. They'd make a deal. Now we're using the word would, which is the word for imagining things. Now, will is like a solid promise out in the world, and would, that's just in our head. So it's a lot more imaginary and unsure. We're imagining this. It's probably not going to happen. We have to use our head to think about the result. They would make a deal. They would make a deal next week. They'd make a deal next week. If they reached a compromise, they'd make a deal next week. If they reached a compromise, they'd make a deal next week. Okay, let's make an if-when question. If they reached a compromise, when would they make a deal? When would they make a deal? When did they make a deal? If they reached a compromise, when did they make a deal? When would they make a deal? When did they make a deal? When would they make a deal? Here is the answer. Next week. If they reached a compromise, they would make a deal next week. They'd make a deal next week. If they reached a compromise, they'd make a deal next week. If they reached a compromise, they'd make a deal next week. All right, you're doing a super duper job. Let's try another example. But before we do, I just want to remind you that if you find these exercises helpful, please take a moment to subscribe to my channel, Professor English ESL Class, so that you won't miss the next lesson. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, please take a moment to press the like button. It helps my channel so much and lets me know that you want to see more fluency and listening comprehension exercises just like this one. Now, let's keep practicing English. Here is another very common collocation with reach. Reach a quota. Reach quota. Mary reaches her quota. Mary reaches her quota. Let's make an if clause with this sentence. If. If she reaches. If she reaches her. If she reaches her. If she reaches her quota. 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 Because we're using simple present with if, it sounds like we have a positive attitude about this situation. We really think that she's going to do it. She can do it. It's probably going to happen if she reaches her quota. Now, let's talk about the results. Get a promotion. She will get a promotion. She will get a, she'll get a promotion. She'll get a promotion. She will get a promotion. She'll get a promotion. We're using will because we believe this will happen. It's like a promise. Will is a promise. It's very solid. It's out there in the world. If we're using will, we believe she can reach her quota. So we are also very positive about the result. If she reaches her quota, she'll get a promotion. If she reaches her quota, she will get a promotion. Now, let's make an if-when question. A when get promotion question. If she reaches her quota, when will she? When will she get a promotion? 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 If she reaches her quota, when will she get a promotion? If she reaches her quota, when will she get a promotion? Here's the answer. Soon. Soon. She will get a. She'll get a promotion soon. If she reaches her quota, she'll get a promotion soon. She will get a. She'll get a promotion. If she reaches her quota, she'll get a promotion soon. All right, now let's look at the same example, the same situation, but with a different attitude about the situation. So here's the sentence. She reaches her quota. Let's make an if clause, but instead of using simple present, let's use simple past. If she reached her quota. If she reached her. Remember, it's hard to say reached for people, especially people learning English. But here we can say, instead of reached her, we can say reached her. If she reached her quota. Now, because we're using simple past, it sounds like we really don't think that she can do it. It's possible, but we don't really think that she can achieve this. And when we want to talk about the result, we'll use the word would. Would is the word for imagination. We really have to use our imagination if we want to think about the result, because we really don't think that she can achieve her goal. It's not like will. Will is out in the world. Will is a promise that you make. Would is something in your head. It's something that you have to imagine. If she reached her quota, she would get a promotion. She would get a. She'd get a. she would get a. She'd get a promotion. If she reached her quota, she would get a promotion. If she reached her quota, she'd get a promotion. She'd get a promotion. It's possible, but we don't think that she really can reach her quota. Probably not. If she reached her quota, she'd get a promotion. Now, let's ask an if-when question. If-when. When get a promotion? When get a promotion? If she reached her quota, when would she? When would she get a promotion? When would she get a promotion? If she reached her quota, when would she get a promotion? Here's the answer. Soon. If she reached her quota, she'd get a promotion soon. She would get a. She'd get a promotion soon. If she reached her quota, she'd get a promotion soon. If she reached her quota, she'd get a promotion soon. So here we don't think she can do it. It's probably not going to happen. It's possible, but she probably will not reach her goal. She'd get a promotion if she did, and very soon, but she probably won't because she probably won't meet her quota. All right, you did an amazing job today, and you learned some fantastic English. Congratulations, I knew you could do it. Remember, practice makes perfect, so you should repeat this exercise several times. Not just so that you can remember this vocabulary, but also to improve your listening and speaking skills. It's been really fun practicing English with you today, and I hope to see you again real soon. So don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to press the like button. See you in the next video with more interesting words and phrases.